It's the state of the dungeon! It's a video that Rob does about his games. Yeah! Hail, heroes! I don't have a lot of time to discuss things, but the crusade against the Cult of the Dragon is going about as well as can be expected. Oh, I am Korbrecht Cinderflume of the Grand Order. Oh, thanks for reminding me that we haven't met. Unless, of course, you've been following these messages. But we're about to set up for a quick battle to destroy a few more cultists. We've had great success for the Grand Order against the Cult of the Dragon. We flew to the Skyridge Castle on the backs of wyverns provided by the Cult of the Dragon, because apparently cultists don't get along very well. And our quarry wasn't exactly endearing herself to the underlings, so one of them decided she'd stab her in the back by sending us after her. We'd take the help. But we flew to the castle and I made some suggestions that nobody really gainsaid. So what we did was we flew to the top courtyard of the castle, which let us have direct access to the tallest tower, which was where the magical matrices to steer the castle were located. We thought there we'd find the cloud giant who owned the castle. And I was right. We found the cloud giant, and we presented ourselves, saying that we were fairly certain that as a smart giant, he would realize that the cult would betray him at the first opportunity. He told us that he had already planned on betraying the Cult of the Dragon, because he wanted to summon the dragon Tiamat to the world to try to unite all of the giants under his banner to fight her. And then I asked him, since they didn't exactly win the last battle against the dragons, how much better of a chance would he be with he and his giants against the goddess of the dragons, as well as any dragons left remaining? Oh, he didn't think that through very carefully. So he agreed with me that we had to stop the Cult of the Dragon where they were. So what we did was, we agreed with the Cloud Giant that we could prosecute our battle against the rest of the cultists as long as we could take care of that white dragon that was guarding the treasure. He considered the white dragon a challenge enough worthy of his skills that if they were to fight, and of course any of the Cloud Giant staff and ogres that were running around, that the decision on how it would end up would be in question as long as the white dragon were there. So if we could just take care of his wee bit of a dragon infestation, we could finish off with the rest of the cultists. We agreed we didn't have much of a choice, although we did purchase a potion of invulnerability from him to try to help us out against the dragon. Unfortunately, we didn't drink it before we were actually fighting the dragon. We got down, led down by the chief ogre guard of the Cloud Giant, and we went down into the dragon's lair, and there was the wall of treasure. I'm not gonna lie, my dwarven heart stirred a bit at all the sight of all the gold. This wasn't just the random bronze and brass and whatnots that the dragon cults just grabbed and snatched as they raided the countryside. This was the gold, the silver, the magical items that they had gathered, all properly kept by the Great White Dragon, the Cloud Chaser, Glacier. Well, the dragon was clinging to the ceiling when we came in. Bold as brass, I could see him without any great difficulties. And the dragon came and rumbled about how did we bring it tribute? Well, it was all I could do to stop Belphegor from charging. He just wants to get that sword wet. But it's appropriate when you're dealing with a proper dragon that you follow certain responsibilities and how you deal with it. I talked for a wee bit of a moment saying we were there to count the treasure, And perhaps the dragon didn't exactly buy that argument, but I was trying to get us into good position to take it down, or maybe to talk it down from the ceiling so our melee combatants could go up there and take care of that dragon. But then to pull it down, I told the dragon, after it clearly didn't believe me, that we were just pyromaniacs wanting to see how much damage we could do to their horde before we were stopped. That got the dragon down, certainly enough. He seemed to be a bit on the angered side. And, of course, we had Glint go and do this flanking maneuver way off to the side. He was fast enough that he avoided the dragon's breath weapon. I'd never felt cold that intense before, I don't mind telling you. I was not feeling the best after that. Some of our group got out of the way of the worst of it, however. The dragon then moved up to go after, well, a couple of our members, but he primarily seemed to fixate on Belphegor, possibly because Belphegor and that flaming greatsword of his. So I determined, because I was supposed to get half of that potion of invulnerability, but we didn't drink it beforehand, which would have made sense. So I looked down Cathion and I told him, don't even bother healing me. The next thing I take, I'm down, so I'll just do the best I can. Threw a fireball into the face of the dragon. It was not my best fireball. However, dragons have this inner reserve that they can avoid the worst of things, but it's a limited reserve of will. This dragon didn't have the greatest amount of will, but he avoided that fireball like a champion, which set him up for other things down the road, perhaps. So we got into this fight with it. It started out ugly because dragon can attack in almost all directions. Their tail is dangerous, their claws and their bite, of course, hurt. And then they can buffet with their wings and knock folks down, and they are fearsome combatants. However, we are 7th level adventurers capable of just swarming and each of us doing our own damage, which we did. I myself, of course, didn't do a great deal afterwards. Cathion was nice enough to come up later after he'd taken care of his own injuries. Slapped me for a bit of healing. Again, I was sure if the dragon got another breath, I would be a statue. So I chipped in as best as I could. Again, I didn't have great dragon-breaking spells. So I mostly just stood in the reserve for the vast majority of things. Quite honestly, I'd have to say that the fight was won because the dragon was lured down, and once he was down, he was not able to disengage for fear that we would carry out our orders and sack his treasure that his goddess demanded he bring her. And we had demonstrated that we could clip him a good one even if he was on the wing. Glint managed to land a hammer blow or two on him, and we pegged him from a distance fairly well from some of our other resources, and Cathion has range spells and such, so he stuck around and fought till he died. When he was at death's door and I could see he was scared of his own life, that's when I ended him with my mind spike and crushed his wheel and broke it. And he died. So we liberated some of the treasure, a great deal of it. Turned out we were able to get a few sacks of holding and things that were able to take the great majority of the treasure in. We found a few choice items too, including a new one, Staff of Frost. Very choice item, I must say. But, all the same, we grabbed everything, took the head off the dragon, left the rest of the body there for us to deal with later, and we went back to the giant. We killed that dragon so quickly, it was not able to roar out a warning to anyone, and the very battle itself, the lair was fairly remote. There wasn't much they could do. So we just walked out as if nothing had happened. Straightened ourselves out a bit, certainly, but we got out and back up to the Cloud Giant's lair. The Cloud Giant looked at us with amazement as we had killed off the dragon. We provided the head as proof. And the Cloud Giant said, "Alright, you can now go around killing the cultists. I'm going to take the castle up so that any of the other cultists that are in that town down there, Parnast, can't be coming up to do anything more. You just got to take care of the nasty bit of business that's still here, and any of the other cultists that are here. Just clean out the infestation for me. Well, he didn't exactly give us a great deal of help, but honestly, we didn't need it. When we knew where they were, holed up, we were able to go and finally finish them off. Eventually, we got to go after that half-black dragon that's been causing us so much trouble. We found out where her room, her chamber was, where she was holed up with a few of her pets, a couple of drakes, her trusted lieutenant, and some servants of some sort. Truth be told, it was anticlimactic. I was ready for her to be casting spells and start some sort of a spell duel, but when she saw me, she may have realized that was pointless because she didn't try nothing. Instead, I stepped in after we had engaged, and that engagement is Balthagor charging straight in and hitting her right in the chops with his sword, and then everything else turning around and biting him on the bum. Yeah, perhaps he's not our greatest tactician. And he was in pretty dire shape, I don't mind telling you. But, all the same, we moved in. I used the cone of cold out of the new staff. Works very nicely. Took care of the servants, all but killed the drakes, injured her lieutenant, and, well, instantly froze her. She had taken some damage earlier, and as I saw how the fight was going, the cone of cold did the business for us. So, she was gone. And as far as the rest, her lieutenant, well, he actually managed to stick his sword completely through Balthagor. That was a downside. Now, we think that the cleric Cathion can fix him. Hopefully. But when we wrapped up the rest of the fight, we can hear that there's more coming. That doesn't bother me, I can easily hold a point. I can hold it by myself if I want, but I got my magics to do that as well. We do know that they still have some more wizards on this castle, so all my spells will still be handy to have. But in this case, we're expecting more of their fighting types, which we can clean up easily enough as soon as Cathion takes care of Balthagor and we get everything going again to another fight. But once we wrap that up and we kill off the Thayan wizard cultists that they've got, well, we've got some thinking about what to do. This cloud giant wants to take whatever's left of the treasure and head north to the spine of the world. Range far in the north. Along the way, well, they can take us probably wherever we'd wish to go along that route. But as long as it keeps any of this treasure away from the Well of the Dragons, I'll be happier, certainly, by undoing their plans. But also, we haven't finished looting yet, and we have to find out if that mask is here, so that we can keep it away from the dragon cult. If we can't, well, then all that we've done so far will be pointless. We may have killed one of their worm speakers, but there's a lot left to do. And I wouldn't mind seeing the rest of that cult brought completely down. That would give me some joy. It would certainly help to etch my name into the annals as one of the ones who brought about the destruction of one of the faces of the Cult of the Dragon, much as they keep coming up again, but still, it's important to fight them whenever they pop out of their little holes in the ground, eh? So to that end, we still have some cultist killing to do. I have, perhaps some spell dueling to do, and we'll polish up the rest of these skulkers soon enough. Then, we can report back that we successfully completed our leg of the mission. The rest of the forces can now go and take care of the pipeline of treasure that these bandits and cultists have gathered together, so that that doesn't go any further. And we can bring this chapter to an end. Who knows? Perhaps we'll go on another leg and go and take out the rest of those worm speakers. It would make me feel better knowing that such evil creatures were no longer about. And I admit, since the cultist lass who gave us the dragons, she gave us all the information and details that we needed. So I suppose it would be lax of us if we didn't exactly go off and kill off Severin and his merry band out in the Well of Dragons, wherever they are trying to bring Tiamat into our world. As soon as we make sure that the Black Dragon Mask isn't part of their plans, so that they can't truly bring her across. Well, if you're getting this message, we succeeded at least in part. So, until the next time, and I make a new report, this is Korbrecht in the Flume of the Grand Order. May her honour ever grow. Farewell.